Oh, welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Eric James, the channel that brings you your team every single day, guys. And we need to have a discussion. We do need to have. I'll be honest with you, the standard of refereeing in Scotland is absolutely poor. It is awful. It is genuinely some of the worst refereeing in the whole of Europe. And that's not just based off yesterday's appalling display by John Beaton. It's based on a number of pieces of evidence. I mean, obviously, one of the biggest pieces of evidence that shows that the refereeing standards in Scotland have fallen substantially is the situation that during the Euros that UEFA decided not to take a single Scottish referee. Case that they took an Argentinian referee over Scottish referees to a European tournament. Scottish referees, if you watch, and I'm not just talking about Rangers games, I'm talking about games across the whole of the SPL weekend, not just this weekend, but weekend after weekend after weekend. Decisions that are made that just make absolutely no sense whatsoever. And decisions that VAR fail to overturn, decisions that VAR either ignore or fail to see, or the officials within the VAR room, are unable to take. Now, I'll start off with one absolute fact, is that VAR itself is not a problem. The issue is not VAR. The computer technology, the camera technology exists to make the game easier. So VAR is not the issue. The computers are not the issue. In fact, I think if somehow you could let the computer make the decision, you would get the right decision 99.9% of the time. It is the human behind the screen, the human watching the computer screen, watching the video feed, that is the issue. Now, for me, there are four key questions when it comes to refereeing standards in Scotland. The first question, obviously, is, are referees just genuinely that bad? Are they genuinely that poor? I mean, that is the first one. Okay, that's the first one. Is it genuinely that bad? That's the first question. Second one, are VAR officials genuinely that bad? Or is there actual corruption in the Scottish game? Are games been refereed in favour of certain teams over certain other teams? Or is it the fact that referees and VAR officials are so scared to make decisions due to, number one, the threats and repercussions from a certain fan group within the SPL and the narrative that is pushed by that club? That is another issue. So we'll deal with those questions. Look, I mean, if we go back to yesterday, this is a penalty. By every stretch of the imagination, it is a penalty. The rules of the game state it's where the foul ends as to what decision is given. Go back and watch the Liverpool-Southampton game from earlier this season in the EPL. Andy Robertson pulls down Tyler Dibbling. Tyler Dibbling's foot is on the line. Penalty is given. Correct decision. Backed up by the VAR decision in that game. So yesterday there was no VAR intervention on that decision. So you've got to ask, the question is, what were the VAR officials doing? So obviously, number one, the referee missed that, which, look, I'll admit is difficult to do. Having refereed games, refereeing is a very difficult thing to do. It's a million miles an hour. You're trying to keep up with the game. You're trying to watch 100 different things happening. It is a difficult job. I will give them that. But that is where VAR was brought in to assist refereeing standards, to raise refereeing standards. Now, if VAR genuinely missed that, you've got to ask a question, is what did they see? What discussion took place? And what did Frank Connor, who was the VAR official, actually say to the referee? Now, according to reports that I've read this morning, Frank Connor said that, in his opinion, there was nothing to look at in that situation. Correct decision was given. Which then you've got to question Frank Connor's understanding of the rules. Does he understand that I think it's Rule 12, that if a foul is committed with the player's foot on the line is considered in the box. In the box, therefore, is a penalty. Therefore, is a penalty kick. That is the rules. That is not me making up pro Rangers rules or pro Hearts rules or pro Kilmarnock rules or anti-Celtic rules. That's me going from the actual refereeing handbook as to how to referee football games. So that's the first thing. Now, I think there is elements I think there is genuine elements for me of poor refereeing. I think some of it is genuinely that the referees are genuinely really poor and they are not fit for purpose. And I think that is partly down to the fact that they are part-time referees. That is not their sole focus. They are not continually looking at how to improve their profession. They turn up on a Saturday or Sunday or Thursday, whenever, Wednesday night, to referee a game. And that's what they do. They then go back to work, working as whatever, working as a lawyer, a teacher, a doctor, a parish priest, whatever they go back to working as. Okay, so look, that's the way it is, unfortunately. I think there is an element there that needs to be a more professional approach to refereeing in Scotland. The SFA, I think, do need to look at making referees professional so that all these referees can be paid a salary and their sole purpose can be to actually raise standards, to look at how they can improve their practice, to get better at what they do. I think there is an element of that needed. In terms of the VAR officials, I think that there is genuinely a poor, again, there are some very poor VAR officials. I think there are some officials that genuinely, A, don't understand the rules of the game, B, don't know how to use technology perhaps correctly, and that obviously leads to decisions being incorrectly taken. So I do believe there is an element of unprofessionalism and a lack of knowledge there for those VAR officials to then take and make the right decision. So I think there is an argument maybe for having specialist VAR officials, for having people who are not referees, not linos. They are solely there as VAR officials. Their sole job is to do the computer technology side of it and to look at games and to watch games and to look at the way that the decisions are taken. Now, in terms of the corruption, I think this is a very delicate one. You've got to be really careful what you say on this one, but there is an element of a lot of decisions going in favour of Celtic, for example, in this league. I mean, there's been comparisons, obviously, there was the Engels tackle the other week where he clearly stamps on a player, he receives a yellow card. There was a direct comparison there with the Dujon Sterling incident against Aberdeen where Sterling again stamps on a player, receives a red card. So you've got to kind of look for a consistency there. Why is there no consistency of decision making? Is it because one wears a blue shirt, one wears a green and white shirt? Is that the reason why? Or is it that just because referees are shit? I don't know. I couldn't comment on that. And I don't want to comment particularly on that. I don't want to get myself in trouble. But there is a suspicion here. And I think what is not helping with this conspiracy theory that there is a corruption in favour of one team over another in Scotland is the number of decisions that go in favour of one team over another team. You look at a number of Old Firm games where decisions have gone against Rangers that are then reviewed by independent refereeing people like, for example, Dermot Gallagher. Dermot Gallagher, just to clarify, is a Celtic fan. Okay, he is a Celtic fan. He's from Dublin. He is a self-professed Celtic fan, but he is a Celtic fan who can actually referee, who actually understands the rules of the game, who understands how the game actually works, unlike the vast majority of Celtic fans who have zero football knowledge. He again, the Seamer incident in the game last year with the handball. Gallagher comes out and says that's a handball, that's a penalty. Okay, how Willie Collum obviously gets away with not giving that, we don't know. The Morelos goal that was ruled out, again, Gallagher says that goal should never have been ruled out. Again, another foul, again, incident. The Dessers foul that leads to the Roof goal last season. Again, Gallagher comes out and says that goal should have been allowed to stand. Again, why is it not allowed to stand? What is the issue there? Why are the officials getting it so badly wrong? The incident again yesterday with the penalty. The vast majority of people are coming out. Bobby Madden, Dermot Gallagher, Neil McCann, even Neil Lennon coming out and saying it should be a penalty. I mean, it just beggars belief that these decisions are happening. And like I said, there is, unfortunately, it's becoming that the conspiracy theory that is being pushed by some elements within the Rangers fan base, and I'm not saying it's right, I'm not saying it's wrong, are looking more and more like it's actually true that there is a corruption there, that there is something going on within the game, that there is an element of support given to one side over another side in this country, that the other teams in the SPL don't stand a chance because referees will always referee in favour of the green and white team. that's just how it seems to be to a lot of fans. And you go and ask Hearts fans, Hibs fans, Kilmarnock fans, St Johnstone fans, Dundee fans, Dundee United fans, and I'm sure they'll say that it's all firm game in all firm games, all firm teams get all the decisions. I get that, but if you were to ask the majority of Hearts fans, the majority of Livy fans, the majority of St Johnstone fans, whoever, I'm pretty positive the vast majority of them would say that Celtic get the vast majority of decisions in their favour. Now, one thing that I will kind of put out there is this. The Celtic board and the Celtic officials within the club have not helped the situation in the slightest. They have not helped the paranoia that runs within their fan base, the victim culture that runs within the Celtic fan base. You know, when they come out and they make statements like Rangers get all the soft penalties, when they come out and say things like that at their AGM and the focus and they put pressure on referees through their statements at AGMs, that is not a professional way to run a football club. That is not a professional way to run a football league. And these people, you know, need to realise the impact their statements are having on the Scottish game and on their supporter base. Now, if the supporter base are hearing their chairman, their owner, whoever, their chief executive come out and say stuff like, oh, we don't get any decisions given our way, they all go to Rangers, which we know is completely untrue in all firm games. Go back and look at the statistics. When was the last time Rangers had a penalty? When was the last time a Rangers player, a Celtic player was sent off in an old firm game? Go back and look at the statistics. You know, there is a real, I think, duty of responsibility from the Celtic board and from the Celtic hierarchy to tone down what they're saying, because they are creating part of the problem and they are creating that paranoia amongst their fan base that therefore leads their fan base acting in an irresponsible manner towards referees. Now, I'll come out and say that I don't think it's just Celtic fans that at times that are this bad. There are Rangers fans that are on the same level as that. But one thing I would say is this. You know, there is also a belief within the Scottish game that there is a fear amongst referees, a fear amongst VAR officials that if they take particular decisions or give particular decisions particular ways against certain teams, that their life would be in danger, that their family would be hurt, that their house will be under threat. You know, you've had elements of that before. John Beaton has been threatened, his family have been threatened. You know, there is a vile minority within both fan bases, I believe, that need to take a long, hard look at themselves and think, what impact are they having on the game? What impact are they having on other people? You know, referees, yes, referees are bad. Yes, referees make mistakes, but then so do players and so do fans. And I think, you know, when fans are coming out and threatening, you know, physically threatening or issuing death threats or whatever against referees and VAR officials, that is bang out of order. It needs to be looked at, and the police need to crack down on this and throw these scumbags in jail. And the football clubs need to find the people who are making these threats against referees and against VAR officials and against referees' assistants and ban them for life from football grounds and ban them for life from being within a certain radius of their stadiums. You know, I think that is harsh measures need to be taken. Now, like I said, I hope you appreciate I've got to be careful what I say, but I think, you know, genuinely there needs to be something looked at. Now, there is this element and this belief outside of Scotland that Scotland is a farmers' league, that is not worth investing in terms of money investing in the league and financially TV money being invested. And I don't think that the refereeing standards or the perceived refereeing in favour of one team over another helps this league at all. And I think the SFA have got a duty of care that if they're going to build the product and build Scottish football back up again, that they need to address this. And like I said, I think the ways to address this are to have professional referees, professional VAR officials. I think there is also an element of investigation needed into the standards within the league. I think they missed a massive opportunity with the appointment of the referee supremo. I think appointing Willie Collum, appointing from within, in effect, was the wrong decision. You know, I honestly believe that when it came to that decision to appoint Collum last year, if we'd actually looked outside of Scotland, looked at an English ref or a German ref or a foreign ref to come in to look with a fresh pair of eyes at what was going on, someone who has no natural bias or can be, sorry, I'll rephrase that, someone who can cannot be accused of having a natural bias to one side of the old firm over the other side of the old firm, I think would have helped this this game massively, and would have helped refereeing standards in Scotland massively. You know, someone who comes from down south, for example, who is a Liverpool fan, an Arsenal fan, a Chelsea fan, a Manchester United fan, a Manchester City fan, who has no axe to grind in terms of Celtic, in terms of Rangers, Aberdeen, Hearts, Hibs, whoever, and looks at the game with a fresh pair of eyes and says, right, this is not good enough, this needs to change, this is not good enough, this is not acceptable, this is not clear, why are you making those decisions, why is that happening? You know, can ask those questions. That's what should have happened. And I think appointing Column was a massive, massive error by the SFA. It was a huge error. And, you know, nothing against Willie Collum in particular. You know, you can have say what you want about Willie Collum. All I'm saying is a fresh pair of eyes to look at the game with a neutral, independent view would have been a very good situation for Scotland. And it isn't working. And like I said, there are, this morning, huge errors, huge questions being asked about this game, about the situation in Scotland, about the refereeing standards. You know, listening to English pundits and English officials talking about the Scottish game has been a bit of a joke. And it's unfortunately, we're making ourselves look that way through what's happening in these games. You know, like I said, through incidents like this one, through incidents like the Arna Engels stamp, through incidents, you know, other incidents as well that have occurred in games, you know, big decisions that directly affect the outcome of games. This is the issue, you know, and it's not just a minority now. It is happening on a too regular basis for it to become just a case of poor refereeing, I believe. Guys, I'd love to know your thoughts on this one. I do genuinely believe that within Scotland, there is a major issue with refereeing that does need to be addressed. Guys, let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what your feelings are. But on the way out, please obviously smash the like, smash the sub, comment, share, do all that great stuff. Thanks for watching. And remember always, we are the people.